I have been asked a lot about some of my tips for landing a great job. I did a video, a two-part video, my top 8 tips for landing the perfect job, that was more philosophical. So I'm going to be putting together a very detailed video about all of those linear steps. In the meantime, I found a video that I recorded. I had an amateur videographer record this during a workshop I gave at a LA Christian Professional Conference, Los Angeles, a few years ago. This was during a breakout session. I had about 50 people in the room, and I went over really some great practical steps to securing that great job. Some of it's about LinkedIn, some of it's about our resume, etc. I think you're going to love it. So stay tuned, and you're going to hear, it's about 45 minutes long, some of the best advice I can give about how to land that next big job from a tactical, practical, linear standpoint. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. I post 2 videos a week, so please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be reminded when I do. Please also consider becoming a member at Motivationeer.com. Your membership really supports this channel. Thank you. Okay. So we'll cover about 40 or so minutes, 50 minutes. It's really important for me that you guys provide feedback as it's happening. If you say, wow, Shawn, that sounds ridiculous, I'm not buying that, please tell me. Just stop me in the middle. One of the best things I love about watching how Jesus did it in the Gospels, he let anybody interrupt him at any time, all the time. And then he used it as an opportunity to teach the 12 how to someday lead, right? So I do not get shy if people interrupt me. You don't even have to raise your hand, okay? Just go, not buying it, or something like that. That's fine. Okay, you guys agree to do that? So what I'm going to do here, Mastering a Faith-Filled Career Search, this is going to be some of the best tips that I have to offer. I'm going to teach you the things that I teach my clients who end up hiring me to help them with this type of thing. That if you do what I'm going to teach you how to do here, you'll be able to you'll be able to find a new job with great faith. That's the key. We can do anything if we have the faith to do it, right? Yeah. And it can even be an enjoyable ride when a lot of times people think looking for a new career is misery. It is not. When you have it with a faith focus, it can be incredibly fun. So I'm going to go over just a few tips. And inside one of the tips, I've got a bunch of sub-tips. I'm kind of like that. Tip number 1, if you're taking notes. I thought we lost you, Al. This is my Uber driver who drove me from the hotel over here. Please make him feel at home. Welcome him. Okay, and if you have a job for him, he's ready to start working. Okay, tip number 1, it always starts with God. Always. No matter what. And I'm going to read just a few passages from the scriptures to kind of illustrate this. We know all of these, but when we see them nested together, it kind of increases our faith even more. In Deuteronomy 8, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me, which is, I have this amazing director level job because I'm awesome. Right? Or I'm an evangelist of this church because I'm amazing. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. We may need some more chairs, guys. And so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your forefathers as it is today. God gives us the ability to produce wealth. How do we produce wealth these days? YouTube channel, come on. God gives us the ability, whatever the abilities are. Now, we can say, I put a lot of time into researching and studying in school, and I've really applied myself. How about this? Why do you like the things that you do? Who in you formed the desire to play baseball or to play the piano or play chess? Where does choice ultimately, when we're young and formulating, where does that come from? We can't figure that out. In psychiatry and psychology and sociology today, that is an unanswerable question. We do not know the answer to that. So even if we say, I'm the one who chose this amazing career path, I studied it at Harvard, and I'm the summa cum laude, we still cannot be the one to claim I produced the wealth. Are you with me on that? Okay, Judges 7:2. In order that Israel may not boast against me, that her own strength has saved her, announce now to the people, I'm going to make your army even smaller. We know this story, right? The story of Gideon. He wanted to prove that an amazing victory, which will be that beautiful, awesome career that you've always deeply dreamed of, can happen without you having to have everything in place. One of the things I recommend, which I'm not going to get into here when you're applying for a job, apply for jobs that are 2 levels above you. Do it. So what? Why not? You could go there and end up clicking with this person, the person say, I have to have you. I'm going to make a position for you. Even though you're not the right fit for this role, I'm bringing you into this company. We have no idea what God has planned, but we hold ourselves back because we think our army is not big enough. I don't have enough skill. There's not enough years there's an employment gap in my resume. That's just us saying my army's not big enough. It's faithlessness, really. That's nothing to look down on. It's just something we want to identify, okay? Psalm 33:16. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. A horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Despite all its great strength, it cannot save. There's a really great book out there by Malcolm Gladwell. I think it's called Blink, but he talks a lot about people that are the best in their class in high school, and then they get into this amazing college, and they realize they're at Harvard now, or Tufts, or MIT, or UCLA, or whatever. I'm trying to think of West Coast. I've been on the East Coast forever. That they don't really end up measuring up in this new, beautiful, big school. So they end up getting a low-level liberal arts degree, and they end up leaving and getting a low-paying job. Whereas if they would have accepted, like, nothing against, if anyone has gone to University of Maryland, nothing wrong with that. But if they'd have said, I'm going to go to University of Maryland, stay in their STEM class and be at the top of their class, those people leave and make a lot more money than Harvard grads who didn't cut it but refused to leave Harvard because they wanted the horse, the great strength. If I just have this diploma, it's going to open the door for me. We've got to abandon that thinking. Okay? Now is the time to get rid of that. If you follow a lot of LinkedIn articles like I do, you will see big companies are saying, we do not care if you have a 4-year degree. Please apply here. Why? Why do they do that? Because they can train you to think the way they want you to think for them. 4-year degree, all that is, it just says that you know how to manage time, kind of. Okay. Okay, I got a lot of chatter on that one. That was good. Okay, here's tip number 2. We know this one. This one's not going to shock us when I say this, but you want to have an amazing looking resume, right? Who in here has an amazing looking resume? Raise your hand. Yeah, he does, actually. I checked out his resume on the car on the way over. I'm like, dude, why are you not? Okay. If your resume is missing how you made a numerical difference in the company that you worked, it is not an amazing resume. Let me say this again. You want to put inside your resume each company that you've worked at, how your presence made a numerical difference. Those numbers jump off of the page at interviewers and start punching them in the eyes. They're like, gotta have this person. Here, let me give you a couple of examples. See if I can, oops. Yeah. So, let's say you work for non-for-profit and you worked on the marketing arm. You want to put in your resume, as a result of this project that I ran, charitable giving increased by 13%. You want to have a number like that inside your resume. I led a department where I managed about $50 million in revenue. Put that in there. I had a team of 16 people I oversaw. I decreased cost by $150,000 on one project. He worked for Kaiser Permanente. they will hire you afterwards. Don't interrupt this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very sarcastic. Most people know. I'm letting you know I am. You want to have something that demonstrates how you are thinking strategically. If you say, I work really well with people, I develop a great culture, I am very thoughtful and conscientious, it means nothing. Because if you're all of that, that's great. I'll give you a hug afterwards. But if I'm interviewing you and I have a resume here, one person has got all the skills that you do, but they're telling me how they numerically made a difference, I'm going to interview that person. I'll probably hire that person because they know how they contribute. That's what we want to demonstrate on our resume, okay? So a little hush fell over the audience. Let me stop here for a second. What do you think about this? Yeah.
So how do you go about, if you don't have the numbers to reflect how you've improved the company, how do you go about doing that without lying?
Well, you definitely don't want to lie, so thank you for pointing that out. So we don't want to exaggerate none of that stuff. We want to have absolute integrity. Because what's going to happen is if you do fudge it in your resume, it's going to come out in the interview, and then you're going to go, you're going to look stupid, right? So if you, let's say, there are people that I coach that are in this situation, and this is where it's difficult. They're a high school teacher. How do you show as a high school teacher how you made a numerical difference? That's difficult. So this is what I say. If you're working right now in a job, and in the job you're in right now, you don't know what that number is, go and talk to your boss. Hey, boss, what keeps you up at night? What really worries you about what we do in our department? How is it that you're measured on a scale of success? And then start contributing to what she is measured on. And then you'll have your very first one. If you've never done this before, and it's from this point forward you're thinking like this, that's fine. You want to start learning it now for your industry. What industry are you in? Okay, so you better have some numbers if you're in the real estate industry. Okay, you were asking for your friend next to you here that wouldn't want to ask?
No, but for example, like last year was my first full year in real estate. So I did very well. But when you're comparing yourself to other agents who produce more.
Oh, good. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
What did you guys just hear there? Comparing. You know who you're comparing yourself to? You know who we want to compare ourselves to? Ourselves last year. When we're interviewing, we want to compare ourselves year over year over year. So the number one thing that you can do in a situation like that is show a year over year percentage increase. Don't even give the real number. Just say, year over year, my sales increased by 88%. That's a real number. Did I pick that number like perfectly? Was it 88%? So 100% year over year, that sounds pretty awesome to me. You're hired. Okay, so here's the next tip when you want to make your resume look great. I'm going to show you a $1,500 resume. Are you ready to look at this? Rub your eyes. This is for real. This is the top part of a $1,500 resume. I had a senior executive call me up of a very large healthcare chain, not here in the West, over on the East Coast, and said, Mr. Sommerkamp, I'm unemployed and I'd love for you to help me get a job. I'm like, okay, tell me a little bit about well, I've been a CEO of such and such a healthcare organization for 35 years. I'm like, all right, I'll be able to help you get a job in no time. He's like, I don't think so. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, well, we hired a new chairman of the board for our board of directors, and he summarily got rid of all the executives from the entire hospital. Now I'm unemployed. Everyone's going to know I'm a fake. Okay, you're saying you've been faking being a CEO for 35 years? Yes. Okay, now this is the fear that's common in almost all of us. Do you know what this syndrome is called? The imposter syndrome, right? So I'm like, okay, what I can do, I can help you on how you're kind of looking at yourself. And this is what he said. At least I have a $1,500 resume. So I said, so what does a $1,500 resume look like? And he forwarded it to me, and it's the format that I've been using for 20 years. That someone charged them $1,500 to create. I say, save your money, email me afterwards, I'll give you this template, and then you can focus on how to feel great about what you can contribute to the company. That's the most important thing. How you feel about you, okay? But here's what the format does. Get rid of summary at the top. Make it aspirations or purpose or excellency, something different than summary. Man, that's a snoozer. The next section, you want to have a bulleted list of all the power words in your industry that you know. Not that I know this is a power word, but I am familiar with this part of my industry. Okay, so I was in professional services for many years. This is actually my resume. So portfolio management innovator. I know how to innovate a portfolio that's old and crusty and is given to me. I know how to make that an innovative new thing. Lean Six Sigma implementation, risk management. These are things that in my industry are buzzwords. And what you will find, and here's another little tip, which I don't have included, but it just came to me. When you're searching for jobs, you're going to notice a trend. In the job descriptions that you go, wow, I am a perfect fit for that one, you're going to notice there's a certain set of words that you keep seeing in those job descriptions. Make sure they're up there in that little bulleted list. This bulleted list will get scanned by executives more than anything else in your whole resume. They're just going to look at that list, and you don't have it buried in paragraph descriptions that they got to read through. I mean, people have a hard time watching a 3-minute YouTube video. You want them to read through your resume paragraphs? No. Put it at the top here in bulleted format, and it's going to really catch their attention. Okay? And then below in the highlights, just let your eyes skim across those highlights. What stands out to you? A lot of numbers, a lot of money in there. None of that's fluff. That's all for real. Those are the things that I've done because of the positions that God has put me in. Now, I could have been put in those positions and failed at them. In fact, if you go to my workshop on Saturday, you'll hear about a ton of failures. I am all about raising your hand for the biggest opportunities and failing hard. And the company will promote you. I guarantee it. But I won't get into that right now. You want to have this list here, the best of the best about you. You're going to repeat some of them in your little descriptions below in your experience section, but you really want to show how you're awesome right here. How many people feel comfortable saying how awesome they are? That's good. Because what you're not, this is not boasting. What are you doing? You're educating. You hire me, I'll do this for you. That's all this is. Okay? So there are lots of ways to get a hold of me. If you want me to send you this template, I'll send it to you for nothing. All right. We're going to go now to the tip section number 3. Your friend and mine, LinkedIn is the bomb. All right. How many in here would say that they have an amazing LinkedIn profile? I know my Uber driver does. Okay, so I had someone say, define what an amazing LinkedIn profile looks like. Now, you and I don't know each other. I will tell you I'm terribly sarcastic all the time. And I will say, if you ask that question, it means you don't have an amazing LinkedIn profile. Because LinkedIn tells you on the right-hand side on your LinkedIn profile where you rank. If you're an all-star, it'll say all-star right there.
Does that mean the bomb is an all-star?
Yeah. No, LinkedIn being the bomb. I'll tell you why LinkedIn is being the bomb. That's a good question.
You look at the side, so if it says you're an all-star, does that mean that's the bomb?
No, the bomb, I'll tell you what the bomb is in just a second, because that's an important question. If you don't have an amazing LinkedIn profile, that is what you want to spend a lot of time on. Everybody, if you're getting interviewed, will look for you on LinkedIn. At the last job I had before I started my business, I have in there very freely, I'm a Christian. It's in my LinkedIn profile. I do not hide that. I'm very excited about that. So I now have this job. It's a very high-level job in a very big company, and I've been there 2 years, and now we're over in Stockholm, and we're having this big, Christmas party. If you've ever celebrated Christmas in Stockholm, it's like amazingly wild. So all of the senior guys are all sitting around this table, and they're all getting sloshed. I'm not drinking. Not that it's bad to have a drink, but I don't. And because now they're, pouring loudmouth soup down their hole, they start talking kind of freely. yeah, we checked you out before we hired you and we saw that you were a Christian. And I'm like, are you sure you want to be talking about this right now? Really? I mean, at your level, you probably should, watch that. But they're like, yeah, we were convinced you were just going to be beating us over the head with the Bible all the time. It's so cool to know that you haven't been. Why am I saying this to you? They took a long time to tease through every little word inside my LinkedIn profile, and I didn't really even know it. And I'm bringing this to you now because of that weird experience I had. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile looks amazing. Am I saying broadcast that you're a disciple of Jesus Christ? I'm not saying that. I do. I'm comfortable doing that. But you want to make it amazing. So I'm going to show you, before I do, this is why it's the bomb. There are 500 million people on LinkedIn right now. 500 million. 149 million in North America. And this information is 2 months old, so those numbers are much bigger. It is like the single place for career searching and enhancement and advancement that exists. Why is LinkedIn so popular? Does anybody know? Say again? It's a professional portal, but why is it so successful?
They were early.
Okay, because they were early. Yes? Okay, so you said the right word. It's networking, but there's something very specific in network theory.
So people, it's the influencers, and people can come in and
yes.
Forget the word. They can say, yeah, she's good at this, she's good at that. What do you call
Okay, so I thought you were really close to it there. Have you guys ever heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
So what LinkedIn touched on is a science that you can reach anybody in the world with 6 hops. What the science shows us now, though, and this is even true of the American Power Grid, there are hubs that are, for some reason, insanely more connected to everything else than your standard hubs. And in LinkedIn, you land on one of those people, they're going to be able to introduce you to almost anybody, or 1 or 2 hops away. Like I have about 1,600 connections right now, which may sound like a lot. It's not. There are people out there with 4,000 connections. But if you in this room here connect with me on LinkedIn and you're looking for a job and you see that, I'm going to show you some of this in just a second, and you see that I know someone that could influence a hiring decision where you're interviewing, hey, Shawn, can you connect me with such and such? I just submitted my resume there. I would love to. I will say, you bet, for sure. LinkedIn has tapped into this unique hub science in a profound way. And the more that gets, the larger that number gets, the more well-defined these hub people become. And when you start looking for a job, which I'm going to show you some of this in just a minute, you're going to be able to influence the outcome of the interview long before your resume even gets in front of their face. 57% of the people do it by mobile. Did you know it's been around since 2003? Yes. That's a long time. Are you in technology? Sort of. Okay, I want to know more later. Okay, so what I want to do is teach you some of my LinkedIn ninja tricks. Okay? Who would say that they're really proficient with LinkedIn? Okay. Okay, so 2. So I will ask those that you won't raise your hand, but she's raising it for you. Okay. What I will do, as I show you these things, you can tell me, yeah, I already knew that, Shawn. Okay? All right. First one is, did you know you get 15 free messages per month if you're a premium member? Why is having 15 free messages a month important? So what? Because it gives you access to anybody on LinkedIn. It doesn't mean you're going to have a great connection with them. It doesn't mean you're going to greatly sway or influence them. But it does mean you can get connected to them and you can send messages. This is a really important thing to know, and use them. LinkedIn will tell you still have 13 unused messages. Use them up. Just constantly connect with people. You never know when a big hub connection is going to happen. Okay? I got this so small here. Let's see. Okay, so you see there, in this example, I have found a job opportunity I use Indeed. I use Indeed.com. Do you guys all use Indeed? It's a meta search site. It's very powerful. But when I find the company that I want to apply to, I go to their LinkedIn page. I type in the name of the company. And it gives me, let me see if I can find it, access to all of the people within their company that are on LinkedIn. Now, this one is ICF, International Coach Federation. So there are 98,000 members of ICF that have a LinkedIn profile. If you're applying to Coca-Cola or IBM or Walt Disney, whatever, you go to their LinkedIn page, you'll be able to see instantly who is in that list. And what will happen is you'll notice next to the person's name, because you're going to find the hiring manager in that list, and you're going to see how many connections you are away from that manager. In this example, how many? One connection away. It's a second-degree connection. That means someone I know knows that person. And if that's the hiring manager, I want to get connected to them. Do you agree with that? Is that something that you would do? Almost no yeses on that second question. So I worked at GE for 11 years, and this company, the software startup in Boston, found my profile on LinkedIn and saw I had a certain amount of experience in a certain area and said, hey, would you be willing to come down and give us some consulting advice? I'm like, sure, I would love to be generous and get the opportunity to meet some new people, a software company in Boston, yeah. So I went down there. I ended up spending all day with them. The CEO is basically, you name your price. We're going to steal you from GE. You tell us what you want, and we'll get you. We'll pay it. I'm like, great. I went and got a bunch of advice, prayed, asked my wife, and then gave him a ridiculous number, and he said yes. And I was like, awesome. So 3 months in, after selling my house, the house that we loved, moving down into Boston, 3 months later, I got fired. Now, how do you think I responded to that? I'm like, hey, God is probably trying to tell me time to get out of GE, and I would have never left GE any other way. And what ended up happening is, little side note, with the signing bonus and the severance package, I started my executive coaching business. I would have never done that if I'd have stayed at GE comfortable. But now I'm unemployed, living in a little apartment. I think in Boston it was like $2,600 a month for 1,100 square feet, something ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, I want to find a job now. What do? I used exactly what I'm telling you now. I looked on Indeed. I found this perfect job, Avid Technologies. Anyone know what Avid is? It's linear digital video editing. And I'm like, this is the one. I submitted my resume. I took the name and went in and put it inside LinkedIn. And it gave me the list of employees. I clicked on it, and sure enough, the hiring manager was there, Jody Sweeney, Global Services Vice President. Second-degree connection. I'm like, ooh, who is it? Let's see if I can find an example here. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't have an example of it. But floating below your second-degree connection will have little pictures of who that connection is. And there was a brother in the church in Portsmouth, a guy named Scott. So I'm like, oh, this is good. So I sent a little message to Scott. Hey, Scott, I see you know Jody Sweeney. I just applied to a position that's perfect for me. Can you put us in touch? And he didn't respond, but within 10 minutes, I got a message from Jody Sweeney. She's like, you know Scott? What a loser, huh? Small world. I just went over to HR and found your resume. Why don't you come in tomorrow for an interview? Wow. I'm like, okay. So I went in, by the way, from the time I stepped out of my apartment in Boston to the time I step into the building, it's a 3-minute commute. Wow. So, and that's if I don't get any red lights. It's closer to 6 minutes if I get red lights. So I interview with them all day long. By the end of the week, they made me the offer. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And I was praying, I want to report to a believer and make as much money as that crazy company paid me. And I was within $5,000, which is insane. Wow. But here's the cool thing. When I went to start work on Monday, Jody's like, come on, we'll have some coffee and I'll tell you how we found you. And I'm like, I know how you found me. I connected to you through Scott, And she's like, oh, it's a much bigger story than that. Well, it turns out that they had been searching for me for 6 months. They had gone through like 100 applicants. They had it boiled down to 2. They had the offer letter written to one of those 2 when Scott said, hey, you got to check out my buddy Shawn. I think you'll really love him. That is the power of LinkedIn. That is why LinkedIn is the bomb, because it puts you right to the top. Why did it put me to the top? Because he, in a sense, vouched for me. In the next class, if you stick around for the 4 o'clock class, I'm going to teach you about negotiation. And I don't want to spoil it, but one of the things about negotiation is managing risk. If you know somebody who knows somebody, the risk goes way down. Scott's a known entity. He's vouching for this guy. The other person I was about to make an offer to, I don't really know anything. Looks good on paper, but I know nothing other than that. I'm going to go with Shawn. Yes.
I have a question because I just came from a professional content class, and what I noticed is everyone wants to card and wants to connect on LinkedIn, which is great. However, your story is amazing, but what if someone doesn't really know you?
Great question. It's not in here, but this is a ninja rule, not a ninja trick. Do not connect with someone that you do not know. Don't do it. Because you are now giving someone that you don't know access to your entire network. We're protecting that network. We want to protect that. That is our little baby. And we want to make sure it stays healthy and warm and well fed. You would not, give your baby to a babysitter that you just met at a conference, would you? I know that's a ridiculous parallel. But LinkedIn's kind of like my baby. Okay, let's see what I have here. Okay, this is what I was trying to get to and I didn't notice. It says underneath the person, 2 mutual connections right there. And that's where you go, oh, I know that person really well. Yes. Where do we know each other from?
I was in your class in St. Louis.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. Thank you. I recognize your face. I knew it. Yes, please.
What about connecting with people you do know well and love, but they're not anywhere connected to your professional life? Like, I spent time as a disciple in Detroit, in Chicago, my husband in Detroit. A lot of our kingdom friends want to connect on LinkedIn, and part of me feels like, I don't know what the usefulness of that is.
Okay. I'll ask all of you. Is it a useful thing to connect with, let's say, the guy who bags your groceries if he has a LinkedIn connection?
Yeah.
I heard some no's, some yeses.
Yes, because Scott was your son.
Yeah. You have no idea who they know. That guy, that wonderful dude that I end up talking to for 15 minutes every time I go into Publix, because he's just so fun to talk to, he may be, raised his son with this other guy who's now the executive vice president of Boeing. We don't know. We have no idea. If you know them and they're on LinkedIn, connect with them. And if they only have 1 or 2 connections, tell them what I'm telling you. I'm going to give you another ninja trick here in just a minute. Help them start expanding their network, because when their network expands, so does yours. Okay, does that answer your question? They will always have...
Yes, if you know and love them, connect with them.
Know and love them, connect with them.
So is there a new way to die?
Yeah, you can just unconnect.
Okay.
Yeah, disconnect from them.
Will they know it?
They will not know it. Just you can have a selection. Don't let them know that I just stabbed them in the back, something like that. Now, here's another important rule. Do not, under any circumstances, ever connect with a recruiter. Do not do that. Because they are there to use you. That's it. If they want to get you a job, they can get you a job without being connected on LinkedIn, because that's their job. What they're doing is trying to get access to your network. And you don't want to do that, okay? Because that's your little baby. Would you give your baby to someone that you just met at a conference?
Well, if they're a disciple,
If they're a disciple that you know, the answer is heck no. Even more. No, I would not. I wouldn't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. If they're a disciple, that's their job. They're there to exploit you. They will hug you and they will say, in Jesus' name, I exploit you. But they're going to exploit you. Yes.
So, for example, the hiring manager, you didn't reach out to him. You allowed your friend to make the introduction.
That's right.
And you said don't connect with someone you don't know.
What I'm saying, what I mean by that is if you get a connection request from someone you don't know, select ignore. Me and Jody, that was a message. We didn't connect. That was just a message exchange. Just long enough for her to say, can you come in tomorrow? I wrote, heck yeah. And then went in the next day, but I didn't connect with her. I did eventually. Now she's one of my connections. Does that answer your question? Okay, let me go on to the next. I think what I did here is just walked you through how to actually send a message. All right, here's the takeaway that I want to ask all of you to do, no matter how amazing your LinkedIn profile looks today. Every day, for 5 minutes, connect with more people on LinkedIn. Just for 5 minutes. Put it in your calendar. Right after you pray to the Lord and study the Bible, kiss your spouse, walk your cat or dog, put 5 minutes into, you don't walk your cat, scoop the little litter box, whatever you cat people do. I'm actually a cat person. Here's what you do. Whether you have the phone app or on your computer, you will see the little 2-person silhouette. That's My Network. On the phone, it's at the very bottom. On the computer, it's at the very top. Select that. When you select that, you're going to see this. 3 names, whether it's on the phone or on the computer, it's always 3 names with a blue connect button, white with blue lettering underneath. And you will scroll infinitely. You'll never come to the end of it, which I have said everywhere I go. And then someone, hey, Shawn, I reached the end, because all this does is, let's say you connect with me after this. My 1600, it's going to roll up underneath here. So everybody you're connected with that you get, it'll just keep rolling them up underneath. Go through there and connect with people that you know. Do not connect with people you don't know, and do it for 5 minutes. Try to get up to 1,000. I heard ooh. Start off with 300. No oohs. Okay, so that's a good one. So how about 500? Okay, I got an ooh there. All right. Take a professional headshot. Holy moly. Your photo says an awful lot about you. Let me give you some examples of what not to do. Do not have a blurry old picture with some dude's arm around you. That does not work well. Do not have a micro size. Basically what this is, does anyone know what that is? It's a .ico. It's an icon file. They saved their picture accidentally as an icon file and loaded it up there. So he's an icon. Don't put a weird, ridiculous picture of some animal that you don't know. Don't put a picture that is so far away you can't even see who you are. Whatever weird thing this person is doing. Tampering with an Indian burial ground, I think. Do not take a picture with an animal, especially shoulderless. Sleeveless, whatever. What's wrong with this one? It's way too dark. Oh my gosh. But that's not all. Don't take a picture with your best friend because they're not going to know who's who. Don't take a picture that it looks like an M&M is trying to escape or something. This picture, it's squeezed. It's got squeezed. It's wrong dimension. What's wrong with this one? Nothing. This is awesome. You want it to look just like this. Now, I've not met DJ Hastings yet, but that kind of looks like DJ Hastings. What's wrong with this? Can't see his face. What's wrong with that? Okay? Really, I'm serious. Pay some money. After we're done, don't stand up next to the wall and have someone take it with an iPhone 10. Get a professional who knows lighting, who uses a 50 millimeter lens, that gets a nice blurry background on a bright day, who can take 30 shots and you get to pick the best one. Okay? Would you be willing to do that? Spend $100. If it's in LA, it's probably $1,000, right? Just kidding. All right. Use the smartphone app. Okay? There is a unique thing that you can do on the smartphone app that you cannot do on your PC if you did not do that. Did you just take your profile picture right now?
I just wanted to say, I can't get out of the
Now I want to see what your picture looks like. On the iPhone app, what it allows you to do, when you're on the computer, and I mentioned this thing about sending messages, you can send messages back and forth. But on the iPhone app, there's a unique thing that says, ask for a connection request. They took it off of the online version for some unknown reason, but it still secretly exists on your iPhone. So use that feature. You find the person you want to connect with, you scroll to who knows them that you know, and you can click a little button that says, hey, connect us. And it connects you to them right inside the app. Okay? That's like my number one ninja trick. Actually, that's my number two ninja trick. My number one ninja trick I didn't put here. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I had it here, but let me say this. Here's my number one ninja trick. Let's say this person is the hiring manager in your third degree connection. You don't know anyone who knows them, but you just know something inside you says, if I can just connect with this person, and I know this is going to make a difference and they're going to love me. There is a secret way to connect with them, even if you don't have a LinkedIn premium account. Go to their profile. We'll just use this poor guy, Ben Sands, whoever he is. You scroll down to the very bottom of their profile, which is not on the screen, and it shows all the groups that they are joined to. You then click on the group. Let's say it's ICF. You click on the group and you go to the groups page and it says, click to join. You then become a member of that group. You have free reign to message back and forth because you're members of the group. The group is at the bottom, usually of the person's profile. Yeah, so go to the profile page and scroll down. Okay, maybe it's not on the app. I'm just really quickly, I'm looking at it. I don't see it on the app, but it's their interests or special interests. And when you connect with them, when you get into that group, you're going to start getting all the group's emails. That's okay. You can deal with it until you connect with this person. Then you can send them a message. Hey, we're in the same group, whatever. Now, we don't want to be dishonest. This is not trickery. This is just kind of using the system in our favor. You guys feel pretty good about that, right? Moral ambiguity, right? A lot of people said yes after I said that. Okay, that is all I have. I'd love to hear some questions from you. What do you think? Lay them on me. What number are you at?
I'm sorry, about 1,400.
Oh, you're at 1,000. He's way over 1,000. What do you think about the number 1,000? What do you think about doing this for 5 minutes? How many in here feel pretty good that they're going to do it for 5 minutes a day?
I got to get mine started.
Okay, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile,
I have one, but it's really old.
LinkedIn walks you through step by step exactly what to do. You haven't created a job experience yet. You have no recommendations yet. You have not written an article yet. Another thing that I recommend, write a couple of LinkedIn articles. Here's a third ninja trick. Write a LinkedIn article about your industry, something that you know very well, whatever it is. And then before you publish the article, tag 30 of your friends that are in that industry. Do the @ symbol and tag them. That's going to show up immediately on their page. Send them all an email on the side, outside of LinkedIn. When you see this, please write a short comment. When that happens, you can get up to 11,000 people in 30 minutes. Because LinkedIn, I'll give you this analogy. Let's say you're walking along in the mall, you're on the second floor, and you're just enjoying your stroll, and you look down on the first floor and you see a large group of people forming in the middle of the mall. What do? You're going to walk over there above them and look over and go, hey, what's going on? That is what the LinkedIn algorithm does, the Facebook algorithm, the Twitter algorithm, all the other algorithms. They look where groups are forming, and then they start to rank that activity at the top of everyone else's page. So what is a group forming? Comments. One share is worth 13 likes. So if you're liking stuff, you can stop. That's useless. It does nothing. One share is worth 13 likes. One comment is worth 40 shares. So if you get 30 of your friends each to write a short comment about this thing that you've posted, you are overnight a guru in this area. And it's going to help you when you go to interview and they're looking at you on LinkedIn and they see, oh, this guy had like 12,000 views on this. This is impressive. Okay, are you with me on that?
We can do that inside the app.
I don't know about inside the app, but you can do it on the computer. You just tag all your friends and then send your friends a message. Hey guys, I'm writing an article. I'm tagging you. Please take a minute to read it and comment. If you write an article and you tag Shawn Sommerkamp, I promise you, I will read it and comment on it. And then 1,560 people that I have, almost 1,600 people I have, they're going to see my comment about your article. And they're going to go, hey, what's Shawn commenting on? He said this thing is good. I'm going to take a quick look at it. You see? Okay, we're almost out of time. We got a few more minutes. Yes?
I apologize. I was on here today.
You were right on time.
You mentioned LinkedIn Premium. What's the difference between the accounts, or is it okay to stay with a regular account?
You can stay with a regular account. It can work really great for you. When I got into the situation where I sold my house and lost my, all of my dignity when that company fired me after 3 months, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I got to get into full gear here. So I bought LinkedIn Premium, and it gave me those 15 free messages a month, which I used up. The thing I talked about, it took me 3 months to find that job. 3 months. But believe me, it's worth it.
Happened to me because I paid $29.99 the first time. I got the job next month. This time I didn't have $59.99. I didn't want to pay that much.
Borrow the money. They will see that LinkedIn Premium icon next to your name. So there's another thing I was just going to share that was really important. Oh man, I lost it. You found it?
What about connecting with vendors on LinkedIn in your...
I don't know. I mean, it depends upon what you're trying to achieve.
Sounds like a no.
I don't know. I mean, I would never connect with recruiters. And when you say a vendor, you mean if they're a buddy of yours, they may hopscotch you eventually in their career. It might be good to connect with. I mean, a lot of my buddies were vendors. When I worked for GE Healthcare, I made tons of friends with tons of vendors because we were down in the trenches together. So it's fine if it's a person, you're not connecting to the company, right? As long as you have a connection with them. If someone's cutting your hair and you have a connection with them and they're on LinkedIn, connect with them. It's only if you have a connection. Yes, Steve?
Do you agree with this statement? If someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, say yes and then learn how to do it later?
Yeah, so he asked a question. If you're offered an opportunity, you don't know how to do it, but it's an amazing opportunity, just say yes, throw yourself into the fire, and then learn on the go. Absolutely. If you go to my workshop on Saturday, I'll do one spoiler alert right now. The number one thing to advance your career, I'll just give it to you right now. You don't even have to go to the workshop, but this is it. Go to your boss and say, what are your 2 biggest headaches that you deal with every day? Then let your boss tell you what they are. Hopefully it's not his or her wife or husband. Something about the job, right? Hopefully it's not you. Then say, I'll take those over for you. Give them to me. Okay, you guys are staring at me like baby birds looking for some worms. Did you guys catch what I'm saying? That's some scary stuff right there. I did this every single stage of my career from the beginning all the way till when I left my corporate job. I went to my boss, give me your toughest. I was in boot camp. I was 17 years old in boot camp in the United States Navy and volunteered to lead the entire company. People say, don't volunteer. I say, that's ridiculous. Volunteer. And I failed big time. I'm not going to tell you those stories now, but it was embarrassing. Some of the most embarrassing moments of my life happened with me as a 17-year-old leading a company of 84 men. But when I went on my first job interview, I did not say all the stupid mistakes. I said I was the youngest man in the United States Navy history to lead a company. That's all I needed to see.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure when you're given an opportunity and you grab with both hands.
Yeah.
There's no failure, right? You're going to learn something that you could never pay enough money in school to learn. Great question, Steve. Do it. Yes. 1:30 to 3:30, 1:30 to 4:30. It's how to drastically accelerate your career dynamically, dynamic growth.
Is that maximizing your professional life?
That's it. Shawn Sommerkamp. Yep. Some of you have been to it. If you've been to it, it's the exact same one that you've been to in your local church. I would not recommend unless you want to just get repetition, as I shared with some of you. Okay. Anything else? We're going to take like a 5-minute break and we're going to start on how to negotiate to get the money that you deserve. And I'll tell you why we're not negotiating right now. Thank you very much. What's that? You have 1,400. I think you're good. Does it say All-Star?